Philp.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to follow so many excellent maiden speeches and such a passionate contribution from the Honourable Lady from Bristol West. It's also a particular pleasure to contribute, having set up and run my own businesses over the last 15 years, one of which I managed to float on the stock market. Madam Deputy Speaker, it's interesting that the Labour Party chose this particular topic today. It's rather like the dog that didn't bark. If you think about all the things they might have chosen but didn't. They didn't, for example, choose employment. No surprise given it's at record levels. They didn't choose unemployment. No surprise given it's the lowest level since 1975. They didn't choose the deficit. No surprise because it's halved. They didn't choose inflation. No surprise because it's zero. And they didn't choose wage growth. Again, no surprise because it's now running at 2%. They did, however, choose this one economic indicator to focus on. But what the Shadow Chancellor, of course, forgot to mention in his speech when he reeled off the recent figures was the productivity figure from the last year Labour were in office, 2009, when in fact productivity dropped by 2.6%, a far bigger drop than any year in the last Parliament. However, it is fair to say that using international comparisons, there are opportunities for improvement. And I think a look at different sectors is instructive. As my right honourable friend from Wokingham has pointed out already, the oil and gas and finance sectors have both declined somewhat in the last few years for reasons that he explained, and they were amongst the most productive sectors. There are, however, a number of areas we can learn from, most conspicuously the automotive and aeronautical manufacturing industry, where productivity in the last 6 years has grown by a staggering 56%. And in fact, a British worker now manufactures on average 11.5 cars per year, up from just 9.3 5 years ago, an impressive improvement. Madam Deputy Speaker, the IFS and the Bank of England have both published some interesting reports in this area, and I sincerely recommend or commend them to fellow members. They mention as a general, not specific to the UK, but a general cause of declining productivity, a lack of accessibility to capital to invest in better plant and machinery, combined with cheap labour, which tempts firms to rather lazily hire cheap labour rather than invest in machinery or in technology. I'm very pleased that the government in the last 5 years has taken action on both of those areas, most recently by raising the minimum wage by 3%, the highest increase since 2008, and by encouraging banks to lend more. And I very much hope the government in the next 5 years will continue to increase the minimum wage and will continue to encourage banks to lend more to operating businesses. I believe both of those things will help address the productivity issues raised today. In conclusion, Madam Deputy Speaker, there are a number of other areas where the government has taken extremely compelling action, not least in reducing energy costs, not least in rolling out broadband, not least in deregulating, reducing regulations, £10 billion in the last Parliament, the same again this year, and reducing corporation tax to just 20%, the lowest level in the G7. It is no wonder, given those things, we're growing so strongly. It's no wonder that wages are now growing by 2% per year, which in my view is a leading indicator for productivity increases. I'm delighted to be supporting the government's record and look forward to it continuing for the next 5 years.